Floyd here. We're in Revelation. We just finished chapter 3, but now we're doing Matthew 24. We just finished Matthew 24, 1 to 14, and now we're going to jump into verse 15. So open your Bibles and read with me as we walk our way through it. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things out that are in the house. Whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his garment. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. But pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now or ever will. And unless those days had been cut short, no life would have been saved. For the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Therefore, if anyone says to you, Behold, here is the Christ, or There he is, don't believe him. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs and wonders, so as to, deceive if possible, even the elect. Behold, I've told you in advance. Therefore, if they say to you, Behold, he's in the wilderness, don't go out there. Behold, he's in the inner rooms, don't believe it. And here's the answer. For just as the lightning comes from the east and appears even to the west, so will the coming of man, the Son of Man be. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. 16. Daniel, chapter 9, the abomination of desolation. I strongly recommend you read the book of Daniel, all 12 chapters, about 100 times. It's worth it. You'll be stunned if you haven't. You'll be stunned if you have. Daniel prophesied what's going to take place in our future. The abomination of desolation is a specific scenario where Gentiles and Jews will go in and desecrate the Jewish temple, and they will not worship Jesus in doing so. Now, Antiochus Epiphanes, you can Google that if you want. He did that before Jesus showed up. But the Jews rose up in rebellion and kicked him out, wiped him out, took the temple, and that happened 200-300 years before Christ showed up. Problem was that those Jews who did that turned to infighting eventually, and the Romans came in and squashed it and took over. So we could look at Antiochus Epiphanes as an example of what's really going to happen when it does happen. He targeted Jerusalem, he killed the Jews, and he wanted to rule the world himself. Well, obviously, Satan was involved in it. But it wasn't the end of the age, as Matthew talks about, because we've had 2,000 years of church history go by since then. So when we read about the desolation, standing in the holy place, let him understand. When it says let the reader understand, he's saying go back and read Daniel the best you can and try and figure out what Daniel meant back then, because that's what Matthew's referring to, or what Jesus is referring to. In verse 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, he's saying, I hope you're not here when it happens. I'm telling you, I hope you're not here when it happens. Woe to those, woe to those, woe to those. He's not saying, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get 2 weeks of water, 2 weeks of fresh air, 2 weeks of survival stuff. Make sure you got shelter and good warm clothing and food, enough food for the last couple of weeks, and then just run into your closet or out in the wilderness and you'll be fine. No. 16 to 19. I hope you're not pregnant. I hope you're not nursing. If you're in the field, don't go home to get your clothing. This is not a, here's how to avoid it. This is a, I hope you don't experience it. I really hope you don't experience it. Because when it comes, it will engulf you. And then we have the next verse, 20, 21. For then there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will. Well, the one pre-Christ didn't fit that bill. Since the world is this is going to be a persecution that's going to be worldwide, it's going to be worse than Noah. It's going to be a great tribulation. Now, great is not, oh, they're going to kill you 5 times, raise you from the dead, and kill you another 7 times. No, if you face this kind of a tribulation and they kill you, it's over. Once you're dead, you're dead. So this isn't a great in the sense of the torture of my body is going to be worse or they're going to kill me a few times. This great means it's worldwide. Now, previous to the Great Tribulation, whenever there's been a war of Christians being killed, they fled. And there was always places in the world to flee. We have refugees to prove that people, I know of some Syrians who escaped from Syria and went to Berlin and set up a church to lead Germans to Christ. But they fled, they got away. In this particular case, the whole family got out. No one got killed. That's rare. But you could always run away. In the 1300s, during all those different wars, some against Christians, some not, you could always get away from 2 kings fighting. You could always get away. But in the Great Tribulation, there won't be any place to run. We're not going to have rocket ships going to the moon or to Mars, and those who get in them will avoid this Great Tribulation. No, this is worldwide. This is a planet tribulation. And Jesus is saying to the disciples, and they're not going to be a part of it. They couldn't know that at this point. I hope you're not here. I just hope nobody's here. It has its place. It's going to be allowed to take place. It will end, but it's going to be so horrendous that I'm not sure all the commentaries on the book of Revelation put together could portray how bad this is going to be. I've been in war. I've seen death. I've seen friends die. Lots of tears. I've studied history and the history of wars. I've witnessed wars close by that I didn't take part in. War is common for humans. None of it is positive. None of it is permanently cleansing. Oh yeah, some bad guys got killed, but so did a lot of good guys. But when it was all over, people just gathered up more bullets, started all over again. There's a saying that the reason the Spanish left Central America in the 1500s is they ran out of bullets and had to go back and get some more. They got some more and they came back. So humans aren't going to stop killing each other. The devil's not going to stop driving humans to kill each other. It's insane. It makes no logical sense. It's sin nature. But we've not even come close in the history of mankind to seeing what this time period is going to be. And if you read Daniel 9, and you put it together with this stuff here, that period of time is going to probably be at least 3.5 years, if not 7 years. World War II lasted 5.5 years, from 39 to 45. There was bad stuff going on before it, but the worst war on the planet was 6 years. This is a 7-year world war and no place to run. That's the devastating news of verse 23. 24 is a little worse. Look at 24. False Christ and false prophets will arise, will show great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if it were possible, even the elect. So I want to say that it's possible these false Christs and false prophets already started after Christ rose from the dead, but during that 7 years it's going to be heightened. And what's unique about them is that these false Christs and false prophets are going to be allowed to do, you ready, miraculous miracles. Not just phony miracles, fake miracles to fake people out, and it really wasn't a real miracle. Apparently this verse says they will show great signs and wonders, which is what Jesus did when he showed up healing thousands and thousands of people and showed them signs and wonders. So God is going to allow, I'm going to say at this point, those false prophets under the power of the devil to do exactly what Jesus did in order to fake people out. So if we say that this could apply now and has been going on since Christ rose from the dead, and not just that 7 years, then when somebody says, I knew about a guy that he raised a person from the dead and he did this and it was really a miracle, my response would be, how do you know? it was really Jesus. Just because he said so? Well, he's obviously going to claim to be Jesus. He's not going to claim to be the devil. He's going to claim to be Jesus. He is a false Christ, a false prophet. Well, I'm representing Jesus, and that's why I did this miracle. That's a lie. Well, I am the Christ. That's a lie. Anybody who claims that is a liar, is a deceiver, and if they actually perform a real, live, honest-to-goodness miracle, does not prove they are Jesus. It might prove the opposite. But how can we know? Oh, that's really easy. Before Jesus tells us the answer, he says, listen, I told you ahead of time. I've already told you in advance. All of this is going to happen. Bottom line, don't get deceived. Don't get deceived. If somebody says blah, 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 don't get deceived. Look at verse 26. Look at verse 25. I told you in advance. Now look at 26. Okay? He's saying the same thing over, just emphasizing it. The guy's in the wilderness. No, the Messiah's not in the wilderness. Well, but he's in the inner rooms. He's lying. Don't believe it. Well, then how can we know if it's really Jesus or not? And verse 27 is as clear as the stars, the sun, and the moon all combined. Here it is. Just as the lightning comes from the east and appears even to the west, so will the coming of man, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever been outside at night, daytime, when it was lightning? Especially at night. Lightning strikes. Did you see it? You couldn't help miss it. You couldn't help see it. You couldn't help but see it. Lightning is so big, so spectacular, it lights up the entire night sky. Okay? So the illustration is, when Jesus comes, it's going to be like lightning, and nobody's going to miss it. There won't be any deception involved. When Jesus shows up, it's going to light up everything. There's nobody is going to say, oh, he's not really the real Christ. No. They're all going to look at that and go, oh, that is the real Christ. Yep, won't miss it. Just like lightning, you won't miss it. So he's in the wilderness. No. He's in the desert. No. He's hiding under a rug. No. Wait for the lightning. When he shows up, nobody will miss it. Nobody will misunderstand it. Nobody will think, I wonder if that's him. It's him. A side note, Jesus came the first time to prove who he was. He used irrefutable evidence, thousands of miracles, clear signs from the Old Testament, led a sinless life, fulfilled Old Testament prophecies. And then 2, he offered everyone forgiveness and eternal life, John 5:24. 3, God accepted those who chose to come to him, Luke 14:16-24. The book of Revelation is about Jesus coming a second time, but not to prove who he is. He's already done that. The second time he's coming to judge those who reject him. And when he shows up, they will know it. In verse 28, if you got a lot of dead people laying around, vultures are going to show up. Okay? When that lightning happens, you won't miss it. If that lightning's there, that's Jesus. No one will miss it. You got dead bodies all over the place, you got vultures. That's just a given, okay? When Jesus comes back, like lightning, it's a given. No one will miss it. Don't get faked out. Okay? So as you keep reading this, don't think, I'm going to have answers to when the end's coming. No, what you're going to have answers for is don't get faked out. Keep trusting Jesus. He's got it. Just keep moving forward. Once he comes back and does what he's going to do, that's the next verses. See you in the next video. Hope you're enjoying this. I am. Bye.